Hi there, everybody. My name is Kate, and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. So, big old quick download all of a sudden of how I can bring this thought forward. That jealousy, let's talk about jealousy. Big old green-eyed monster, and it's horrible, right? Jealousy is the unfulfilled and unrecognized in ourselves. Because when we look at something or someone, particularly someone, when we look at someone else that's thirsty, thank you for the soundbite, Honda, my assistant, that when we're looking at another person and they appear to have this gift, this ability, this talent, this, great whatever job, we assume something about ourselves. If we're not really careful, we can begin to make assessment of how good we are and how much we don't compare, and we're bad compared to that person. So comparison shopping is unnecessary when you're talking about rare gifts. And rare gifts that someone sees in another person and they're jealous is the red flag and the hallmark and the sign of there's something unfulfilled in you. Because if you recognize somebody else moving around in their brilliance or moving around in what they're most gifted in doing, and they're really good at that, and that is a jealousy factor, even if it's the same exact skill set, it could be, but a lot of times it's not. It's just that what I'm seeing here is if a fully realized person, or one that's realizing their full potential and it's coming out, and man, that really pisses me off a little bit because I'm not doing that. That's what that really is, even if it's the exact same skill set, because my rare gifts, the milkshake I make in my yard is going to be different. By comparison, all the boys in the yard might want my milkshake instead of yours. However, I'm not making it that song or a competition. It's a matter of people will be drawn to the ice cream that I am putting out, and people will be drawn to the ice cream you are putting out. If you are not putting out a product that brings a lot of, something, it's maybe that you're trying to mimic another successful milkshake salesperson, copy their recipe and get into all that kind of stuff. Or there's possibility that the ingredients that you're shaking up over there are just never going to make a very good milkshake, because what you're really better at is designing milkshake trucks. I don't know. Or being a pilot. I mean, there's a thousand reasons, or a thousand different things we could be doing better. It's a matter of finding that, but we get perseverated and rooted on, I see somebody doing better than me, that I want what they have. And doing better than me, what difference would we make? What difference would it make if we were not standing in a deficient space? We wouldn't notice a gap between ourselves and someone else. We wouldn't notice that they're doing better than me. That's very, very subjective. There's nothing objective about that, because by my standards, I could be doing far better than this person. However, by that person's standards, oh, that's ridiculous, Kate. I'm obviously doing better than you. Which point of contact would you like to make? Is it in the finances? Is it in the relationships? Is it in the house? Is it in the job? Where is this point of contact where I don't feel like I have enough? Because that's really what it boils down to. When I'm seeing other people, 333, create, very carefully, that when you're looking at someone else or they're looking at us, and we are feeling that exchange of, I'm testing the distance between us, and man, there's a big old giant gap, and I don't like that, because that means inherently, if we're already starting the conversation with ourselves or out there, it means inherently we already consider a deficiency is on our side, because we've looked there and assessed that there's a gap. There is no gap between human beings. We all start out as a baseline, no gap. And then from the very moment of inception, we begin widening out the gap with all kinds of different ways that we do that, with our gender, with our hair color, our eye color, our ethnicity, our cultural background, blah, 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 blah. And then when we're born, wow, any condition that we may have been born with, any disability, any whatever, our birth story. I mean, we're then start defining ourselves, and these labels are just nothing but separation. Because me as a person, am I successful to the person who's over doing that job that I have zero interest in and would never want to do because it doesn't suit me? No, I'm not jealous of that person at all. So if I'm feeling jealousy, what might it be? Oh, well, they make 3 times more money than I do. Okay, well, that's a worth thing in you. because you don't want to be doing that job. What you really want is to be that successful by your standards. You want to be making more that marries back to you what you think you're worth. And apparently there's a mismatch there, and it's not that person's problem. Nor is it appropriate to be hating on that person. The more appropriate thing to do for us, and we rarely do, because it's not fun, is to say, where's the deficit in me that I created the gap by seeing one? Or that a gap was created in my mind somehow. It's still my gap, because we start out in the unified field, and anywhere where we split out, fractured, and become something else in an identity that we ain't digging, or that we compare, wait a minute, I bounced myself up against you, and you seem to be doing better, you're taller. Well, sometimes you want to be taller, sometimes you want to be shorter, sometimes you want to be invisible. I mean, be flexible. Sometimes we want to be whatever we want to be, but we're living in a rigid structure of what success says is successful. Then we're not going to have any, 555 just passed, thank you. We're not going to have any real reserves to, punch that and see what happens. We're going to be very tight on our, bold maneuvers. We're going to go with very, locked strategic movements that are quite controlled and managed. And then we're going to wonder why. Somebody who's in their brilliance is going to make bold decisions, or they're going to attract those things that seem like it's easy, and I can't explain how other people get their success, what they consider their success. I just know that whatever people are doing, when I see them working in their brilliance, I celebrate that, and when I see someone who appears very happy with themselves and what they're doing, it doesn't matter to me if they're a millionaire or if they're, on the street. I've seen both, and I've seen both not be very happy about it at all. So, I mean, it's really not a matter of location, job, or any of that other stuff. The gap is in us. And when we continue to see it, feed it, nurse it, and continue to really be angry about it, we're filling that quantum gap with a whole bunch of material that's going to have to clear before you can ever get that pipeline of information to you about how you can get to your special zhuzh, your rare gift, your milkshake ingredients, which are nothing like the neighbor that you're hating on. And if we're not able to really get there with that, we struggle and we bump up against people and wonder why they're in our way. You're colliding with, traditional values and, morphing their traditional values, whatever they are, wherever they are, and whatever time they're settled in, whatever we consider when we want to just keep things the same. We want to keep things in that traditional stuff, and yet it's colliding with the human spirit understands itself to be growing, knowing, and evolving. It knows that it's intrinsically capable, and when we hold it back in rigid structure, we have the clash of those titans that I don't want to be held here, and yet I don't know how to be, all the way out there, because I've controlled this journey so tightly in my very carefully modeled, molded, and controlled decisions and movements. And you cannot take bold, morphing and growing and expanding and flexibility. How does that overlay here? Well, it can, but you have to be consciously working and understanding and knowing that that's what's going on. So we can hold a structure. However, if we're willing to, okay, we're going to need to maybe do this over here instead. We're going to need to change this a bit, modify. And that clash will be an absolute bucking up against, and we hate it until we understand it. It's forcing. It's forcing me. The more every day I'm forced, I'm encouraged. I'm left with no other option in my world to get okay with what I'm seeing, and be okay. Even in periods where, it's crazy and I don't know, that person, how are they doing this right now? I'm having a hard time. Do I answer to anybody else? Do you answer to anybody else? Only when you do. And if I have to compare myself and wonder, how am I over here having a really tough time with how I feel right now, and yet other people in the grocery store seem just fine? What the hell? What's wrong with me? Or I'm going to start bashing on them to say, well, those shallow people, they obviously don't know what's going on. They're clueless. That's how they bobble around looking happy. Or I wonder, how come, what's wrong with me? And depending on which one of those tactics you generally move to or feel, ingrained to do, that's the patterning. So the pattern recognition is let's break the pattern by recognizing it. And the pattern recognition is to see, where am I filling gaps with hate and jealousy and polluted information, that quantum field, every time we throw something nasty into it, that it's getting us that much further away from the zhuzh that we could be bringing that would get the milkshakes going in our yard, whatever we're doing in our yard that's our magic, so to speak, or our rarity, those rare gems inside of us that, we're all human and we all can produce, really great stuff. However, no one will produce the same creative zhuzh in whatever format that it's coming out. It doesn't have to be singing or art. It's architecture. It's, mountain climbing. It's whatever a person is doing, being, and embodying to the fullest of their being. That is the most powerful, most successful, right? And redefines what we consider success, because we're plugged in here. And we just know, oh, this is my passion. I can't wait to get up and go do this. And when we don't feel that way, and we see someone who does feel that way, we assume they never feel any other way, which is not necessarily true. And we want to know, well, that's not fair. I've done all this. You can't logistically move out here and make that connection happen. You have to logistically move in here to make that connection happen. It's just that we're not really taught to look in here. We're taught to look for the external validation of my success and then make heavy comparisons, 11. And that is not a sacred journey. That's one that really hurts and is not balanced in any way whatsoever, because my zhuzh is never going to compare, only by a subjective standard. So 1122, it's really much better if I just set the standard for myself, that I set my standard for me, and that's all that I need to be concerned with. Am I showing up to the tall line every day? Is it getting shorter or is it getting taller? I want my tall line to continue to grow with me because I'm growing taller. Not that I set my tall line taller when I already haven't grown, in my first years into puberty. I'm like, no, don't keep setting the goal further out because you see someone who's got a further out goal they're attaining. Oh no, that's not going to work. It's going to actually induce that self-sabotage routine. That's what that engages. And then we fall down to the floor and we're given yet another opportunity through the butthurt experience to say, I wonder what's bothering me about that person and their milkshake. It's really pissing me off. Oh, it's because your milkshake is screaming, going, hey, can you please pay attention 1212 to me? I'm the creative juice. You can't use their creative juice. It's not as good if you do. If you steal their recipe, yours will never be as good. And even if you get a group of people who falsely come with you and believe that your milkshake is just as good, it's still going to be the generic brand from that main, store or that main storefront, because it's theirs. It's their formula, their thing. And copying, we get used to them and we like them, and then we stick labels on them that are considered, good enough. Okay, well, if your good enough standard is what you're willing to do, when you really could just be forging out and finding, where's my label, and then peel the label off and say, I've found myself, because there is no label to that. However, once you find a way, the label that it labels, that it articulates itself through the best and brings that sense of, wow, you're an accounting wizard, you love numbers and you nerd out and can't wait to read the next accounting journals and what's the latest, I don't know how rapidly that stuff changes, 1313, however, you're just down with it. You love it. This is my thing. When we have that kind of passion, we don't even look for milkshakes, of other people. We're not looking to compete, and we can celebrate the other milkshakes around us and go, my God, you come down this street, you're getting 25 different kinds of milkshake. That's cool. Love it. Come join us. We have a whole community of really banging milkshakes over here. And there's not that sense of competition. Everybody feels safe and everybody's needs are met. That's a long ways away when we're over here in the comparison of I hate her because, or I hate him because, or they. What the heck? That's not fair. It is a fair system. It doesn't look fair because we misunderstand it. And we come to understand it far better when we come in here and start figuring out where we misunderstood, because we came out understanding already a bit of separation. We are the ones as society and as individuals have been creating the gaps of separation further and further since then, and we're responsible for every one of them. So if we consciously choose to change them, we move them away much faster. Unconsciously moving to fight the fact that they're there, we'll just gain more. Then we're a loser. We get the label of that didn't work, darn, failure. And that's hard on the old soul. So anyway, take with that what you will, and I hope you enjoy your day no matter what part of the day you're in. And remember to get within your skin because you're divine. It's absolutely fine. It's gorgeous, and it's quite capable. Let that have a little bit of some time today, and you might be quite surprised to see what you discover. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you again next time. Mwah. Bye, friends.